So I mentioned individualist and collectivist cultures, but how do we define culture? What is it? All right, let's look at more definitions. In individualist culture, there is higher emphasis on the person's autonomy, decisions, choices. The downside is that the ties between people are loose because they went too far with this so-called freedom and me thinking rather than we mindset. Where in collectivist cultures, the key word is harmony inside the groups. The needs of the individual are not important. Therefore, there is more pressure to conform and do what is expected by families, society, government, etc. But with that comes more sense of belonging, safety, support. So this has been my experience. I've been in between most of my life because Armenia is a very collectivist culture and that's what I had at home. UK is highly individualist, where Poland is kind of in the middle because it's Eastern Europe. Actually, most countries in the world, apart from Europe, North America, New Zealand, Australia, are collectivist. No wonder, because individualism is correlated with economic development. To quote Hofstede studies again, USA achieved the highest score on the individualist side, where China is on the other end of the collectivist side. So I've become restless. I've realized I spent too much time in Europe, and it's been fun, but I wanted to get out of it. I think our planet is influenced and dominated too much by the Western, especially the US and Anglo-Saxon narrative. I find it dull. And it became more clear as I was traveling to, let's say, Asia and Africa, how everyone wants to be like people from US or people from UK, including the skin. They want to have white or even pale skin, or they're influenced by American movies. And I mean, even the language I use here is English, right? So it's quite telling. And by the way, English is, according to Hofstede studies, is the most individualist language in the world. Don't get me wrong, I love many aspects of the Western world, especially the freedom that was so liberating to me as a woman. Well, I say freedom, but when I think about freedom of speech, sure, that's the case in the West, but recently it's becoming more and more tyranny of speech. I also became sick of this whole political correctness when I used to live in London. This reminds me of Polish journalist Kuba Wojewódzki, who summarized the political correctness really well.
Poprawność polityczna jest czymś naskórkowo, czymś, co właściwie ma zmienić nasze poglądy tylko na poziomie języka, a nie na poziomie ich istoty. Więc jest to hipokryzja tak naprawdę. Inna forma cenzury ładnie brzmi.
One of the things about the Western influence that I noticed so much in other countries is this word expat. Oh my God. There are a lot of expat groups, you can join this expat, you can meet this expat. I'm like, what the fuck? What does it mean expat? Like who created this word? So this fancy word expat is used by Westerners, usually white Westerners, to describe them living abroad. But I've never seen it But I've never seen it used to describe people from developing countries moving to the West. And seriously, aren't we all immigrants, expats, foreigners when we live abroad? Why Westerners need to make up, these fancy words to feel better about themselves? Anyway, I've had enough of the West and I started to wonder, how is it in the Far East or Africa or South America? How do people function and create societies on these continents? What are their ancient values and philosophies in life? How do they relate to each other and connect? So I started my solo trip from Asia, Japan, and my philosophy of traveling was to follow people rather than places. So I've been trying to talk to as many people as possible, both locals and foreigners, asking them questions and trying to understand them.